reckon we're going to start. Should we try with a good old-fashioned hello? Hello, Dougal and I are in our beloved Outer Hebrides. It's a shame I've got to shut the view out, but the sun, well, I don't know, the sun's quite strong, so I hope you can see some of the beach there. Hope that's not affecting the light too much. This is a long-awaited vlog of a small series I'm going to do about how I vlog, and this one is going to be about the equipment I use. The next one in this series, I don't know if it will be next week or maybe in a couple of weeks' time, it will be how I use this equipment, and then hopefully a third one about the process, about how I put vlogs together. So without further ado, we will crack on with this one. Obviously, I'm going to need to change equipment halfway through because I can't show you all my equipment and film it at the same time, so we're going to have to change cameras. The way I'm going to do this, I'm going to start with the things that I find the most useful, the best value, so that if you are thinking about starting a vlog or a YouTube channel, or really just for your own enjoyment, I'll start with the things that I found to be the best value for money. We will work through and start working up to the more luxury items, and of course the more money you pay on something, the less value it might be. And then we're going to finish off with three things, maybe a couple more, that I feel have been a waste of money. A couple of them you may be quite surprised because a lot of vloggers swear by them. I swear at them. And finally, there's a couple of items on my wish list, things that I want to invest in to take my vlogs further. So if you're thinking of starting a vlog, we're going to start with the basic equipment and the stuff that I find most useful, believe it or not. Number one, no surprises, is the smartphone. I use an iPhone 7 Plus, and this has so many advantages. These are so good these days. I'm sure that the Android versions, I know a lot of people swear by the Samsung Galaxy, but the iPhone 7 Plus, and along with I think the 8 Plus and the 10, is awesome as a camera. Obviously there are the usual advantages, you know, you've always got it with you, which is the most essential thing really, and I'm often using this in my vlogs because quite often it's the only thing I've got with me. The image quality is amazing, but what I like most about this is the fact that it has awesome image stability. So if you're walking along, it really does reduce the shaking, the bouncing up and down. So I am massively impressed with the stability of this. There are also some other things that are about the smartphone, especially about the iPhone Plus, that I find massively useful even when you're using other cameras. Now, two things I really like about this are, one is the slow motion setting, and what that does is it sets the camera to a high frame rate, and that means that often you'll see some slow motion pictures of Dougal either running on the beach or jumping in the snow, and that is usually done on the iPhone in slow motion. It increases the frame rates, which means you can slow it down with no loss of quality. And the other really lovely feature about the iPhone is the time-lapse setting. So when you've seen vlogs with the clouds going along or any kind of time-lapse like that, that is done with the iPhone. Even though I've got some far more expensive cameras, it's just very simple, very easy to do it with the iPhone. Now, one app you might want to consider downloading for your iPhone is ProMovie or something similar to that. With ProMovie you can actually start changing the settings in the video camera, and you may find that very useful. So it's really, really powerful tool, your smartphone, if you've got one. Another great feature of the smartphone is the fact you can plug a microphone in. Obviously with these awkward iPhones you need to have an adapter, but you can plug in a microphone. And that leads me on to the final quality that a smartphone brings you, and that is you can use this as a sound recorder. So you don't need to invest in any sound recorders. If you buy a camera for your vlogs, your videos. You can then use your iPhone as a backup camera, a second view, or you can use it as a sound recorder, which we'll come on to next. So all in all, it is awesome. Are there any downsides? There are one or two downsides. First of all is the fixed focal length on the lens. Now if you're doing caravans, you're filming caravans, motorhomes, tiny houses, any kind of interior, even interior of your house, if you want to try and capture everything, because the lens isn't very wide, you end up with a real seasick kind of emotion because, oh gosh, you know, I want to show you the cupboards, and I want to show you the floor, and I want to show you the cooker, and I want to show, and people watching the video will, oh gosh, you know, that's a bit nauseous. One way around that, if you are just going to do one or two interiors, is just to take a still image of the inside and use that on your video to demonstrate any points you want on a wide shot. So that's one disadvantage. You can get these add-on lenses, but that just adds to faff. And the second thing that isn't so great about them is sometimes the focus does search quite a lot, so the focus sometimes it's not great, especially if you're using this, say, in the windscreen of your car, which we'll come on to. Then I found using an iPhone as a dash cam isn't always great. It's better than nothing and it works very well, but sometimes the focus gets a bit lost when you're using it as a dash cam or something like that. So there are limitations, but very few. So this is by far the best value for money item, and with a smartphone you can start vlogging straight away, as many of you know. So the next item on the list is the good old selfie stick. And if you're going to buy a selfie stick, which I would suggest you do if you've only got a smartphone, is buy one with the detachable phone mount and the little tripod screw on the selfie stick itself, so you can attach it like that. The reason I say this is because then you can detach this and you can use it on other pieces of equipment to hold your smartphone. And you can also use this if you want to, say, get a camera and use it to hold your camera steady like that. As I mentioned before, the smartphone doesn't have a very wide lens on it, so the selfie stick, if you're going to do a little bit to camera, you're walking along, then obviously that's quite handy to keep the camera at a nice distance. I would say the big I mean, this was £1 at the pound shop. That's how much I paid for this. I will be putting links to all of the equipment in the description below. They will be Amazon affiliate links. I will be earning a little commission on anything you buy if you click on those links, so that's full disclosure. But as I say, you don't have to use those links. I got this in the pound shop, and I would actually recommend that you did, because I'm after you saving some money here. But if you do want to buy it through Amazon, there will be a link in the description below, and I might get 10p. Hey, happy days. So the one downside with these cheap selfie sticks is the fact they can be a bit wobbly. And if you're using them like here right now, it's quite windy. You might get some vibration, especially when you've got a really heavy smartphone on it. It can be quite, well, see, it can do that basically. So they're not ideal, they're not great, but you know, for £1, you can't go wrong really, can you? And it's certainly better than not having a selfie stick. The next thing I would suggest you invest in is a little tripod. Now, I love this tripod. It's quite new to me. It's made by a company called Newer. Don't ask. You'll see a lot of people use GorillaPods. We will be coming back to GorillaPods later in this vlog. I really like this. It's got fixed legs. It can take any weight of camera, so it's future proof if you go up to an SLR. You can use it on a table, or if you're out caravanning, I quite often use this on a camping stool, on the little camping stool table that I've got. So it just saves having to set up a big clumsy tripod. And then of course, when you do invest in a camera, or even before you do, you can put your iPhone mount on there, and you can then use it to hold your phone steady, and that's really good. It's much more steady than the selfie stick. So, and obviously if you're doing something like a time lapse with your iPhone, again, tripod is just essential, absolutely essential. So I do like this little tripod, and that would be, I would suggest, your next investment. I use it all the time. The next thing I use all the time, as you may know, is this little sucker mount. And there's a tripod attachment here for your iPhone or for your camera. This lives most of the time on the windscreen of the car, as some of you may realise. I'll cover how I use all my equipment in the next vlog, but you know, it's quite straightforward really. That goes in the car, it's really strong, and I put the camera under there. You can also use it in lots of other ways. You can attach it to windows in your home, or because the Airstream has glass windows, I sometimes put it on the glass windows of the Airstream. I tend not to put it on bodywork of cars or caravans because I'm always frightened it's going to mark. Now once you've got these mounts, I mean, we're talking 20-30 quid's worth of mounts, not a huge amount of money, and you've got 3 mounts there. I would say the next thing you would look to be investing in before you go for a camera is this. It's known as a lapel mic, or quite often it's called a lavalier mic, I think. And as you can see, I've just got it clipped in here. Normally I've got it a little bit more concealed, but because this is about vlogging, I've left it on show today. This can plug into the iPhone, so you can, while you're filming, you can use it to record your voice, record the sound. The improvement in sound quality that this tiny cheap little sub £20, that's all it was under £20, the improvement that this tiny little mic can make to the quality of your vlogs is outstanding. It's probably the most stunning improvement you could make for the lowest amount of money, so I cannot recommend this enough. It is absolutely brilliant. And then of course, once you move on to using your phone as a sound recorder, you can obviously then use it with that. I've also used it for interviews and just sort of hidden it on the table. And again, even if it's sort of on the table behind a bunch of flowers or a bowl of fruit or something, it will still give you a massively improved audio than if you just use the audio on the phone or on the camera. So finally, for this sort of part 1, before I switch cameras, the other essential piece of kit, and that is of course a camera. So if you've started vlogging with this equipment and you want to go on to the next level, then you might want to start thinking about a camera. Now this is a Canon G7X. I'm guessing it's a Mark 1 because it doesn't say Mark 2 on it, and I've had it for a couple of years now. I am over the moon with this camera, but it's just starting to show its age and show its limitations. If you're wondering what this little thing is on the top, it's called a dead mouse. It comes off, and that's the microphone there, and with the little dead mouse, if I am doing stuff to camera, you don't need a selfie stick with this, you can hold it like that. It will just help the audio quality, it will stop that wind noise, so that's a really good investment. I'll put a link to a dead mouse with next to the camera in the description below. That's a really worthwhile investment if you are buying yourself a small camera like this. Lots of advantages to using this over an iPhone. Number 1 is the lens. Basically, it's nice and wide, so if you're doing shots inside the caravan or the motorhome or in your home, it's a nice wide shot. You don't have to move the camera so much to get things in it, and you get people are less nauseous watching the footage. Also, it's got a great zoom on it, so you can zoom right in and get some nice detail, and it's got quite good stabilization, but you would obviously want to be using something like the tripod to hold it if you are looking to use this sort of handheld like that. Another great thing about it is the low light sensitivity. So this is my go-to camera for concerts if I'm going to a Skerryvore concert or something. it's got great low light potential, so it's really good in low light situations. It's also less of a faff to set up than Pro Movie on the iPhone. You just switch it on, it's there. I usually leave it on shutter setting at a shutter speed of 1/100. Just gives me the best results. I find the autofocus on this is pretty good. It's better than the iPhone, but another great thing about it is manual focus. So some of you may remember when I took my bucket list flight to and from Barra, when I took off from Barra, I left this on autofocus, and right at the crucial moment it focused on the rain on the window, not on the view outside. So when I came back and landed at Barra, I switched it to manual focus, focused on the outside, so when we landed, even if there was rain on the window, it wouldn't affect the focus. So the manual focus on this is useful at times. You can obviously buy extra batteries for this, so you can carry extra batteries around with you. You don't have to worry about draining your phone battery. And then finally, better than a big camera, it's just nice and portable. You can slip it in your pocket and take it to a concert. It's obviously bigger than a smartphone, but it's still really light, really portable. So for me, this has been great. Obviously, few downsides as well. It's expensive, or it was expensive. It was over £500. That's a lot of money to invest, but I have used it an awful lot. As I said, sometimes the autofocus could be a bit better. Sometimes you can press on the screen and it will focus on where you've pressed it, but I've had a few clips where it's not focused on me, it's focused on the kettle in the background, or focused on something that I didn't want it to focus on and I didn't notice because I wasn't wearing my glasses. There's no high frame rate setting on this camera. The most you can set it on is, I believe, 50 frames a second. I still need the iPhone if I'm going to be filming something that I know is going to be in slow motion, or I think I might want in slow motion. So it's not awfully great for slow motion shots. And also there's no 4K on it, so it's not really future proof. I still don't use 4K. The drone shoots in 4K that we'll be coming to, but generally because my stuff is going on YouTube and I'm using mobile data because I'm in the caravan, I don't use 4K, so it's not a problem for me yet, but I think it might soon be a problem. So I know the Sony, I believe it's RX100, is a superior camera, I believe. It's also a lot more expensive. But for me, the Canon G7X has been terrific. So speaking of the G7X, we've now switched to the G7X and you're looking at it now. Don't worry too much about the image quality at the moment. I've had to switch off the little light because we're going to talk about that in just a second. Some people say of the Canon G7X, oh, it doesn't have a microphone socket. No, it doesn't, but as I mentioned before, you can use your smartphone as a sound recorder, so that is not really an issue for me. Also, we'll talk about this camera in a minute. This does have a microphone socket and I never use it. I always use a sound recorder, either the phone or the sound recorder. So that to me is not an issue. Cracking on then with our list, and the next thing I would say, best value if you're starting out, once you've got your camera, is this. It's a little LED light. I run it off rechargeable batteries, and this will really improve the quality of your videos no end, especially if you're shooting indoors. But they're also useful in bright conditions to lift up the shadows. So sometimes if you say you're got your back to the sun, it might still be good to help illuminate your face a little bit. So that is a very good little investment. The next thing you will need after that, which is great value, is a big tripod. Now, like my friend James, I hate tripods, but they are a necessary evil. You need one, especially if you're going to be doing stuff to camera. You set the camera up on the tripod, it's nice and high, because obviously with the little tripod that the G7X is now on, even if you put it on a camping stool, it's still down there somewhere. A tripod is really useful. It's heavy, clumsy, can be expensive. It's just the heavy and clumsy I don't like, and it's a faff to set up. The more things are a faff to set up, the less I like them. So let's get this out the way. That's the next thing on the list, as I say. And the light, now I'm going to put the light on, so reset this shot up again, talk about the more luxurious stuff. But that sort of finishes part one of the vlog, which is really what I would consider to be the essential kit for really, really good vlogs and videos. The rest of the stuff we're going to talk about now is to take your vlogs or your videos up to the next level, and some of this stuff I really only use now in commercial work. I bought it with a view for using it in vlogs, and it's not been user friendly enough for me to use in vlogs, so we'll go on to that section now once I've set up the light. Okay, so I've now set the light up and got the light going. It's a bit bright in my eyes, but hopefully you can now see the difference in the image quality. A less blown out background, hopefully my bald head isn't merging with the background as it did before, or it might have done before. It also helps with the camera's focus. Also, this is a good time to compare what it sounds like with the microphone. I'm recording onto the sound recorder, and what it sounds like without the microphone. So you know what it sounds like with the microphone. Now this is what it sounds like if I'm just recording in camera, and you can probably hear it's nowhere near as nice as if I'm using the sound recorder. That difference in quality is pretty astounding. Not bad for a microphone that costs under £20, and you could easily use your smartphone instead of the sound recorder. Moving on to the more luxurious equipment, stuff that is quite expensive, but it will raise your game if you have the money and the means and the resources. First of all is this. I love this. This is a Sony FDR X3000. This is my action cam. I do not use GoPro. I use this Sony action cam. It is not cheap. It was about £500, and what really annoys me in the UK market is that we are also forced to buy the little screen that comes with it. That adds about £100 to the cost that some of our American and European cousins don't have to foot. So you may want to buy this as a grey import. I'm never going to condone buying stuff on a grey import in case it goes wrong. I did buy this from a UK dealer, bought it from Amazon actually, and yes, I was forced to buy the screen as well, which you don't need because it has a brilliant app on your smartphone, and the app on the smartphone does everything the screen can do, if anything a bit better. It's just some people do like to wear the screen. It's like a viewfinder. You can wear it on your wrist or have it as a separate thing. It frees up your smartphone, because when this is switched on and connected to the smartphone, it uses Wi-Fi, so obviously it takes the phone off of whatever other Wi-Fi you might be using. What I love about this camera are its efficiency. Technically it works very well. It's very reliable, so the reliability. The stability, the image stability when you're driving along is fantastic. The colours are lovely. It comes with a waterproof case, so you can use it as a proper action cam, and it's got a tripod mount, so you can put it on one of those little mounts. You don't need any special adapters. It will go straight onto a tripod or that windscreen sucker, anything like that. You can record upside down, so you can have it hanging in the windscreen, as I often do. I absolutely love it. Downsides are the price. It's about £500. Being a Sony, the menu is complicated. Sony menus are always complicated. And also because of the price, even though it has the waterproof casing you can use, I don't take this out on the water with me because it's just so expensive. I don't want to lose it. I don't want to break it. I did take it snowboarding, so it was good for the snowboarding footage. And a lot of that snowboarding footage was just held in my hand as I was snowboarding. That was really good. Some people may not like the shotgun shape of it as well. You may prefer the more flat profile of a GoPro, but I haven't actually found that to be a problem. In fact, if anything, I quite like it, because if I'm walking along, like when I was boarding the plane at Barra, I sort of hold it in my hands like that, so I don't even need a mount, and I just find it very comfortable to hold in your hand at the side of your body, walk along and get that nice sort of reportage feel to your vlogs. I really, really love this camera. So with everything we've covered so far, except this tripod, is what I consider to be my absolute essential kit. And if I'm going somewhere where I want to take the bare minimum of kit, but really good kit, this is what I would take. I wouldn't take anything beyond here. because you can record the sound on your smartphone. You've got two cameras to get two angles, got a tripod, got the selfie stick. So that's my sort of essential kit. Now we're moving up to the expensive, less value for money sort of stuff, a bit more play worthy, and quite often stuff I use for commercial work. So the big one is the camera, the Sony A7S II. If you're into your cameras, then there are a gazillion reviews on this on YouTube. I ended up going for Sony. I used to have a Canon 5D Mark II, which just started getting a bit long in the tooth. Lots of things I love about this camera, but it's so expensive and it's heavy and it hasn't got great image stability. So the G7X is always my go-to. This is my sort of more tripod mounted professional camera. So what this brings me, it brings quality, obviously great quality of image. You can interchangeable lenses. I've got a wide lens as well as this regular lens, this zoom lens. So you can have nice wide shots. I used that for the Northern Lights when we went to Finland. It's got a great manual focus. When you're using the manual focusing ring, you get a large display. So without my glasses, I can see that if I want one thing in focus, like if I'm videoing this Airstream and there's a nice badge on the side, I can pick out the badge. I love being able to do things like that. And it's got a good high frame rate as well, so you can whack up the frame rate and do some really lovely cinematographic slow motion shots like that. And we'll talk about the gimbal in a minute. So that is my big camera. Don't know how much they are now, probably £2,000 or something like that. Again, I'll link in the description below. I love it. A few downsides, as I mentioned, number one, it's heavy, bulky. Again, being a Sony, the menus are massively complicated. I mean, I've had this camera a year and it took me a good 6 months to learn how to use it properly. And even now, I don't know everything about it. One thing a lot of vloggers don't like is this screen. It doesn't flip fully. It sort of comes out, but can't sort of use it as a selfie screen, which doesn't really worry me too much, because for sort of more vloggy stuff, I'll use the G7X, more sort of on the go stuff. That doesn't worry me too much. What does worry me though, I have never managed to get the microphone plugged into this and the sound levels adjusted to something that I'm happy with. Every single setting I seem to use on this camera, it says, oh, you can't change the microphone settings, or it just doesn't record sound. So on the high frame rate stuff, it doesn't even record sound. So that I find a little bit frustrating. Another reason to use the sound recorder. But as a camera, I am happy with it. I'm very happy with it. Would I have it if I didn't do commercial work? Probably not, because I love the G7X. I don't think I would invest in that if I did not do videography and photography for companies. But I love it still. So next up, we've talked about it a lot, and that is the sound recorder. This is a Zoom H4n Pro. Now this is a bit like having a sledgehammer to break a walnut. This is a really professional sound recorder, and then I've plugged in a £20 microphone in the back of it. But it's future proof. I do want to improve the audio on my vlogs. That's my next goal. We'll talk about that at the end of this vlog. But you can use your smartphone. But if you are serious about going into this in a bit more of a professional way, think about getting a proper sound recorder like the Zoom. There are smaller models than this that are more than adequate, or just use the app on your smartphone. But I love this Zoom sound recorder. I've also got a wind muffle that goes over the top, so I can go out. I haven't got to this stage yet, but I'm hoping to. I can go out and record sounds like the sound of the sea crashing, or the sound of the wind in the waves, or anything like that. So that is a good investment. The bit you've all been waiting for, the real fun, is the drone. This is a DJI Mavic Pro. This is one of the original DJI Mavic Pros. As a lot of you will know, drone footage adds another dimension to your videos. I love it. It's expensive. I think that was £1,200. It's now been superseded by the next level Mavic Pro. I do like the DJI products. They're a very high quality product. I've got friends who have got things like the DJI Spark that's got less sort of camera equipment on it and less range. I've got a couple of friends who've got the Mavic Air, and both of them love their drones, but I think the problem with the Air is the lack of range. They can't go very far away. Now, to satisfy the drone code in the UK, you must keep your drone within sight at all times, so that might not be an issue for many people, but I do like the fact that this has a very long range on it. Can't remember off the top of my head, but check out the DJI website. So I love my drone. Is it good value for money? Absolutely not. The problem with a drone in the UK is that most, or any other country I'm sure, is that most places that you want to fly it because they're interesting, you're not allowed to. So for example, I'm from Kent, down in the southeast. When I bought this, I wanted to go and fly it somewhere interesting. The only interesting place I could think of down in Kent, I know, Dover Docks. Oh no, you can't fly it anywhere near Dover Docks, understandably. You've also got radar towers and all this kind of thing going on. That's a complete no-fly zone. Folkestone Harbour, same again. I know, what about Dungeness, the UK's only desert? Oh yeah, Dungeness. You've got a nuclear power station, you've got an RSPB reserve, you've got a military training zone, and you've got Lydd Airport. That is a no-fly zone times 4. So I do find it really frustrating that a lot of the places you want to use a drone, you can't use it over a caravan site because you're going to be invading people's privacy, all this kind of thing. So you may notice that a lot of my drone footage, the majority of my drone footage, is up here in the Outer Hebrides, where I can fly it legally, safely, and without invading anyone's privacy, and there are nice things to look at. So I love it. It's a great piece of kit, but if you are thinking of investing in a drone, think of it more as a bit of fun. It's if you've got the money and you want that bit of fun, you want to take pictures of your house from above and all this kind of thing, go for it. Have fun. Life is too short. If you want it as a serious investment into vlogging, into your YouTube videos, I find it hard to justify the price. I really do, for the amount of times you can use it. But for me, is it worth it? I think so, because I've used it quite a lot. I'm lucky enough to come to the Outer Hebrides a lot, and all in all, it adds that little extra to my vlogs, but I won't pretend it's anything more than a lot of fun. So I do like it, but I can't justify the money really, but I do like it. And finally, the last piece of equipment I use is this. It's the gimbal. This is a Feiyutech A2000. I got this for the Sony camera that I use. It's one of those things, if you don't know what a gimbal is, it sort of holds the camera steady using electronics. You put the camera sort of here, on there like that, and as you move along, it will hold the camera steady and it will take away a lot of the shake, which is very useful when there's very little image stabilization in these Sony A7S2s. So this was £200 or £300. Again, I'll put the Amazon link in the description below, if not to this one, to the nearest modern alternative. I had visions of using this a lot for caravan tours and all that kind of thing, and very quickly I realized it was no good for things like caravan tours, anything like that, because the time you've got this heavy camera and then you've got this fairly heavy gimbal, this is full of batteries here. This is a counterweight for the camera, so it weighs almost as much as the camera again. The time you've got that, it gets very heavy very quickly, and I'll cover this in a little bit more detail in the vlogging techniques video, but I just found it was not successful when I tried to film the interiors of caravans or anything with it. All I really use it for now is if I'm doing commercial work. So you may remember when I did that Sanyong video in the desert, coupled with the high frame rate on the Sony camera, you put this on the HFR, whatever it is, and you put it in the, and all you have to do is sort of sweep it past the car, and then you slow that right down to get that really smooth cinematographic effect. So it can produce a nice effect, but I think the main disadvantage with this piece of kit is you need to set it up. It's the calibration. That is a faff. So most of the time it stays in the box because I really cannot be bothered. I'll end up grabbing the Canon G7X with one hand, and 9 times out of 10 that is fine. That is absolutely fine. This takes a lot of setting up and it gets very, very, very heavy. I've also found a bit of a problem with this, and that is if you don't calibrate it correctly to the millimeter, it starts shaking sometimes, it vibrates, and that can be quite annoying as well.
Go under there, Dougal.
So it's a good piece of kit if you are going to do lots of really smooth cinematographic kind of stuff combined with a high frame rate. But again, most of the time I will use the iPhone because you've got the stability there, you've got the slow motion video there, and that is 9 times out of 10 that's good enough. Or the G7X. That is just to really give it that little edge if you just want to go that little bit better. Is it worth paying £3,000 for? Not really, not for a YouTube vlog, but it probably is if you are doing commercial work. So that is my equipment. Now let's talk about 3 things that I've bought that I find I really didn't get on with. And as we're talking about the gimbal, we'll start there. I did buy a gimbal for my iPhone because I thought that would be great, and also it was a third of the price of this. I found I never ever used it because if you are using the iPhone, generally your smartphone, it's generally because you're using it on the hoof. You've seen something and you think, oh, that looks awesome. You know, if the dog's playing or something like that, you whip the phone out your pocket, hit record, and off you go. The gimbal for the iPhone will stabilize it, but again, it needs setting up. It takes away all the spontaneity. Now, if I'm setting up a shot, if I'm setting up something that wants to look really good, I'll use the G7X with the tripod, or next level, I will use the Sony camera, the A7 with this gimbal. I will not use a gimbal with the small smartphone. It doesn't work. To me, smartphone is all about spontaneity. Gimbal is all about spending a long time setting it up. So I've ended up getting rid of that. The next thing I find was massively overrated, and if some of you may remember, I did used to use it, was a GoPro action camera. Now, I only got as far as the GoPro Hero 3. And I was looking at buying another GoPro when I bought the Sony over a year ago. And I noticed a lot of the reviews for whatever the new one was at the time, they said it crashed a lot. Well, my GoPro Hero 3 crashed all the time. The GoPro I had before that, I believe it was a 1 or a 2, that crashed all the time. And every time I wanted to get some kind of footage, the stupid camera would crash. They kept on crashing for years after with every renewal, and I thought, this is crazy. The other thing I didn't like about the GoPro is that the color capture wasn't great because they're designed in California, and it seems that they're not meant for a dreich Scottish day. So sorry to pan the GoPro. I don't know what the 7 is like. Maybe they fixed it now, but I never got on with GoPro, so I don't use it anymore. And then finally, this might surprise everyone, this is something else I really don't rate, and that is the GorillaPod. Every other vlogger I know swears by them. I swear at it. Useless thing. People say, oh, you can wrap the legs around a tree. No, you can't. You try and wrap these legs around anything, and it just falls off. And then every time you try and set it up, it falls over, and as I say, these legs fall out. This is only a year or 2 old. When they're new, they're much stiffer, but if you use them quite a bit, they get really weak and floppy and useless. I do not like things that you can't use after a year or so. I do like things that will last a long time. So I'm afraid I do not rate the GorillaPod. I never ever found that I needed to wrap it around a tree or wrap it around my arm or wrap it around it. I never needed to do that. So I just find that the fixed tripod, the small little fixed tripod I got, is more than adequate for my needs. They're the three things I don't use. One thing is on my shopping list. One thing I would really like to buy, and I still am so confused. I don't know where to go. I need a decent microphone. I would like to use the microphone for voiceovers. So if I'm voicing over a video, I would also like to use the microphone for interviews. So if I'm interviewing someone, we can do that. I can't seem to find a microphone that will do both. And the problem is that we're now talking well in excess of £100, and I don't know what to get. So I don't know yet about what microphone to get. I would like something, because I'm short of space and I like efficient things, I would want something that does both interviews and voiceovers. But at the moment I cannot find exactly what I'm looking for. So if anyone's got any ideas, I would really, really appreciate them. I'm looking at paying probably over £100, but no more than £150, £200 if it's something that's going to do both jobs really well, because I've got the attachments in the Zoom voice recorder here, so I can plug it into that. That's not a problem. And then you have to buy secondary things to put them through to power them or something. It's quite complicated, so I haven't quite got the hang of microphones yet. That's about the only thing I've now got on my wish list. Obviously, I've got a new Mavic Pro out now with a much better camera. I am quite disappointed with the fairly flat images I get from the Mavic Pro, but I can't justify spending another £1,200 on a drone. I really can't, but maybe one day. So there you go. That is my vlogging equipment, from the most useful through to the least useful. I hope you found it useful. As ever, as I said, there will be links to all these products, or near enough their modern equivalents, in the description below. They will be Amazon links. If you do buy those or anything else while you click through on those links, I will earn a commission, for which I thank you very much. The next video I'm going to do in this series is the long-awaited how I use this equipment. I've touched on it now, but it's things like how I use the drone, which I know a lot of people are interested in, and why I didn't get on so well with the gimbal, doing van tours and all that kind of thing. But in the meantime, I really hope you found it useful. Please talk to each other in the comments below, see if things work for you. By all means ask questions, but bearing in mind I'm not an expert, I just know what I know. I know the equipment I've got. I'm not a photographic or videographic equipment expert. If you want expert advice, I would suggest you check out some of the other great creators on YouTube who make their channels out of reviewing tech, because I don't. I hope you enjoyed that, and you'll join us for the next video. But in the meantime, from the gorgeous Outer Hebrides, it just leaves me to say, from Dougal and from me, thanks for tuning in. There, were you excited about that video, Dougal? You like it when I photograph you, don't you? You do. You do. You. He never smiles.